Get inside, get what we need.
And this is this week's Closet Classic.
Thank you for joining us. My name is Jim Picone. I'm the Superintendent of Schools in the Burlington School Department. And this is the third of our Superintendent's Roundtable meeting. And I'd like to talk to you a little bit today about the upcoming debt service override question that is coming up on November 22nd. And as you know, we're trying to do renovations to the Memorial School and the Marshall Simons Middle School. And oftentimes it's difficult for people to see or to envision what we're talking about in terms of the needed improvements at both of those buildings. So what I thought I'd do today as a variation to our Superintendent's Roundtable is to invite you, the audience, to come with me and with my Director of Facilities, Craig Robinson, and Burlington resident and architect, Kevin Buckley. We'd like to take you to the Memorial School and to the Marshall Simons Middle School, along with the BCAT crew, and actually walk you through some of the improvements that you will see if this debt service question is passed. So again, so that you can make an informed decision, I'd like to take you on a tour of those two schools. And if you join us, we'll head over to the Memorial School now. So we'll see you in a couple of seconds. Thank you. Thanks for joining us at the Memorial School. For those people who are not familiar with Memorial, this is a K-5 building. It was built in 1955, so if you want to do the math, built in 55, 2003. This is 48 years old. It's a school that is in dire need of renovations, but I want you to notice something. As the camera panned over, you probably saw the new windows. They were put in about 4 years ago, so really the only improvement we've made to this building over the past 25 years is the new windows, which will not be touched, by the way, when we do the renovation project, because the walls inside the school are not load-bearing walls. So the window system that we have put in a few years ago will not be touched by the renovation. What I'd like to do is point out a couple of things to you before we go inside. I'm standing on a set of stairs. I'm on the fourth step up from the ground. And this is a barrier to anyone who's in a wheelchair who would like to come to Memorial School. But that's not the only barrier. What I'd like to do is go inside and have you join me on a brief tour of the building. So why don't we do that next? Why don't we take a walk inside the building, and I'll see you in the corridor. Welcome. Now I'm standing in the lobby of the Memorial School. The front door is to my right, and one of the things I'd like to point out to people who have not come into the Memorial School is when you enter the front door, you have an option of going down the stairs or going up the stairs. And the principal's office and the secretary are behind, if you just follow me over here, they're behind those doors. So anyone who enters the Memorial School really does so without being challenged by anyone, and security becomes an issue. If this building plan is approved on November 22nd, what we will do is move the principal's office and the secretary's office over to a wall over to my right. And there'll be glass walls, so anyone who comes through the front door will have to pass right by the secretary and right by the principal. At this point, I'd like to introduce you to Craig Robinson, my Director of Buildings and Grounds. And Craig is going to talk to you about some other issues that are of great concern to us and take you on a further tour of the building. So Craig, why don't you come over?
Thank you, Dr. Picone. As Dr. Picone explained to you, when we got to the Memorial School, you noticed that there was a set of stairs that we had to come up to. And also in the front lobby, we have stairs up and down. These pose a barrier for those people with handicaps because the building is not handicap accessible. Part of the plan will be to make the building fully handicap accessible by putting an elevator in the new front lobby. That'll help us get to all levels of the building. And what I'd like to do now is take you down to the cafeteria and the boiler room and to show you some concerns that we have down there for the Memorial School. We're back, and right now I'm standing in the cafeteria at the Memorial School. Some of the things I'd like to show you down here is not only the size of the cafeteria, but the small entrance that the students have to enter and exit when they come down to lunch, and we're putting 200 students through a single door down here. And then some of the other things that I'd like to show you down here in the cafeteria. And I don't want you to be misled by how shiny some of the equipment is, because it is 48 years old, but the existing serving line, the steam kettles, the sinks, the mixers, and the freezer right here is not a commercial freezer. It's a residential freezer that we use in this building. Part of the renovations will be to totally renovate the cafeteria area to make it a more efficient and more productive food service area for the students at Memorial School. What I'd like to do now is head down to the boiler room and show you some of the issues in the boiler room. But before I do that, I'd like to bring in Kevin Buckley, a Burlington resident, a parent of 3 students who have gone through the Memorial School, a registered architect, and our architect at the Memorial School, at the Marshall Simon School, and he's going to show you some of the concerns that we have down in the boiler room. And why don't we head down the boiler room right now? Hi, now we're down in the boiler room of the Memorial School, and what you saw as we came down into the boiler room was one of the existing boilers. That was the original boiler that's 48 years old, and behind me is the newer boiler that's about 25 years old. What I'd like to do now is to give the microphone to Kevin Buckley, who's going to talk about what kind of system we have here and the kind of system that we're proposing for Memorial when we do the renovations, if we do them. So here's Kevin Buckley.
Thank you, Craig. The building currently has a steam-generated system. In any new construction or renovation of buildings that we perform today, we would put in a hydronic heating system, which is forced hot water, not unlike you have in the homes that you live in. The forced hot water systems are important because they're far more energy efficient, a better dispersion of heat. These boilers here, although there has been some asbestos abatement done within this boiler room, the boilers themselves have asbestos content within them. So those have to be removed as part of this renovation project. The good news is that the boiler room, although antiquated and small in size now, even though the building is to receive additional additions onto it, as well as modifications to the heating system, the boiler room will suffice in size. No additions are needed here because the new equipment, especially the hydronic heating system equipment, will be smaller in size than what exists at this time. I think we'd like to head up the stairs now up into the main corridor and show you some additional aspects of the building.
We're back, and where we are now is just outside the boiler room in the corridor leading from the boiler room in the cafeteria back out into where the students have lunch. And what you saw when the camera came back on was that this corridor is used for storage of classroom supplies, cafeteria equipment and food, and cleaning supplies. Part of the renovation project will have dedicated areas for storage so that these supplies can be put in a more appropriate place. What I'd like to do now is take you further down into the basement and show you the emergency power system as it exists here at Memorial School right now and what we propose to do in the renovations. Now, this is about as far down in the basement as we can go at Memorial School, and where we are is where the emergency power system for the Memorial School exists today. And what that consists of is a series of batteries tied together that create the emergency power in case of a power failure here at Memorial School. This was probably state-of-the-art 48 years ago, but what we're proposing is to put a generator in like all the other schools in the system that have backup power. We'll eliminate the batteries, we'll put a generator in, and we'll provide sufficient emergency power here at the Memorial School. What we're going to do now is head upstairs to show you some of the classrooms and the administrative areas of the building upstairs on the upper levels. So we'll see you up there.
Okay, I just entered through the front door of the school and came up the stairs that we talked about a little bit ago, and I'm going to take you now into the principal's office and the secretary's office, and what I'd like to show you is the facilities that they have to work in on a day-to-day basis. So let's take a walk inside the office. Just follow me. This is Principal Teal's office area, and this is the sum and substance of the principal's administrative office area. Take a look at where parents have to sit when they come in to talk to the principal about any type of issue involving their child. It's very crowded, very cramped. There's really not an awful lot of place for anyone to have any type of group meeting, especially in the principal's office. Now, let's take a walk over into the secretary's office, and let's take a look at what facilities she has. A couple of things I'd like to point out to you is this is a very small office area, and over to my left is the mailboxes for the teachers who work in this building. So picture this: at the end of the day, when the teachers are finished teaching, they come down here to pick up their mail. You could have 20 teachers standing or trying to get into this office area with the secretary, all of the teachers. And take a look at some of the equipment that we are dealing with here. Here is the intercom system. And the clock system is made by Simplex. Simplex made the clock. Bogan made the intercom system. And the intercom system is 48 years old. It really is antiquated. We can't get parts for it. And as a result, we frequently have difficulty getting a hold of classroom teachers, or vice versa, classroom teachers getting a hold of us. In addition to those issues of the principal and the secretary, let's take a walk into the health area where children who are sick would come to see the nurse. Let's take a walk in here. I'm standing in the nurse's office area, the health room. You can see the little bed that we have for the children who are being serviced by the nurse if they don't feel well. We have an old refrigerator that somebody donated to us that she keeps medicines and the things of that nature in. And come on in here. I'd like to show you her office area. So again, here's the nurse's office area, which is rather crowded. There's really no room for anything. If the nurse needs to have a conference with a parent about any health issue, this is the facility that she would accommodate those parents. So our plan, if this building project is approved on November 22nd, our plan is to relocate the principal's office, the secretary's office, and the health nurse's office over into the new section of the school that will have the elevator and the principal's office for security reasons. Let's take a walk down to the library. Here's an area that, again, is a great concern to us. So let's take a walk outside, and we'll head down. I'll see you down the library. Okay, we're standing in the Memorial School Library, and what I'd like to point out to you are a couple of things. Number one, at one point in time when the building was built, this used to be 2 classrooms, and what we did over the years was we took the wall down right to my left, and you can see they broke the wall and made this library out of 2 classrooms. It's really inadequate, doesn't meet current library standards. We do have a good selection of books, but on the other hand, it doesn't compare at all to the Francis Wyman or the Fox Hill or the Pine Glen in terms of adequate space. So our desire would be, if this building project is approved, one of the new rooms in the new section that we plan to build would be a library/media center. You can see spare chairs, some classroom supplies that are on a table right here. And what I'd like to point out to people is we really need to do this building. Don't be misled by the clean floors or the fresh the paint on the walls. Take a look at the bulletin boards that makeshift bulletin boards that teachers have to deal with. The coat hooks that the children hang their coats on because we don't have appropriate cubbies that all the other schools have. So again, this is a 48-year-old structure. We really need to pay attention to it because it needs to be renovated from top to bottom, and that would be our desire to do that. So let's take a walk down to the music room now, and I'd like to show people what that room looks like. Okay, we're now in the music room at the Memorial School, and as you can see, I'm standing in front of the old piano that the Memorial School has been assigned, and the chairs to my left are the chairs that the students use when they're taking instrumental music lessons provided by the teacher. The problem we have at the Memorial School is that this room, and I'm going to walk just a little bit towards you, this room here is directly across the hall from a second grade classroom. Next to this room here is another regular classroom, and the problem we're having is when the people are in this room providing music instruction, the noise level is really interfering with the education of the grade 2 kids in this class next door. Another issue that we're dealing with, and I'd like to have Craig address that, these unit ventilators that are used to heat every classroom and provide fresh air. Craig, why don't you talk to the people about what the problems are with this?
Thank you, Dr. Picone. What we have here, and this is typical of every room in Memorial, is a 48-year-old univent that supplies heat and fresh air to the buildings, to the classrooms. Air standards have changed in 48 years. These units, although running and up to maintenance, we maintain them. We change the filters 3 times a year. They do not provide the amount of fresh air that's governed now by the new standards by the ASHRAE and the Department of Public Health in Massachusetts. So part of the renovation project in the heating system will be to replace these univents with new univents that supply the adequate amount of fresh air for the occupancy of each room, which will make it for a better learning environment here at Memorial. Where we'd like to go now is down to one of the kindergarten rooms and show you the space requirements and limitations that we have in kindergarten here at Memorial School.
We're standing in a kindergarten room right now, and before we take a look at some of the issues of the kindergarten room, I'd like to share something with you. The state standards for a kindergarten room by today's educational standards are 1,200 square feet. This room is a room of about 750 square feet. And one of the ways, that, in an attempt to make the room bigger, they put in what they call lofts. And over to my right is what are the lofts? Just a wooden platform that provides about an additional 80 square feet of instructional space. It was a clever way to do it, but it doesn't meet today's standards. The room really should be 1,200 square feet. One of the other issues that I'd like to point out to you, and the camera can just follow me to the right here. This is a kindergarten room, and if you can just take a look at the storage space that the teachers are struggling to provide when they have materials and supplies that need to be put in storage. It's inadequate. So we need to have adequate storage space. We need to have adequate classroom sizes of 1,200 square feet. Just for the kindergarten, the other rooms will be 900 square feet. But as you can see over my shoulder, the loft provides us with a little bit of extra space, but not an awful lot, about 80 square feet. So we're in the 820, 830 square foot range for a room that really should be 1,200 square feet. So why don't we do this now? We're just about done with our tour of Memorial. So why don't we head across the street to the middle school, and we'd like to take you on a brief tour of that building. So why don't I tell you, I'll see you at the middle school in a few minutes. Okay, now we're at the Marshall Simons Middle School. This is a school with grades 6, 7, and 8. It was built in 1961, so it's 42 years of age. The school essentially is the same school that was 42 years ago, with the exception of the new windows. What I'd like to point out to you is a couple of things. There is really no front door of the Marshall Simons Middle School. In fact, when the Department of Education came by to look at the school several months ago, one of the people from the Department of Ed said, I couldn't find the front door. Well, part of our plan, if this is approved on November 22nd, is to put a new addition on this building. And the addition will be to my right where those bricks are that you saw when we panned over. That will be the new wing coming out, and we'll move out towards Wynn Street. And one of the people who worked very diligently on the plans for this school is architect Kevin Buckley. And I'd like to bring Kevin in now and let him talk about what we're doing and what are some of the aspects of the new addition. Kevin?
Thank you, Jim. As Dr. Picone had indicated, this location at the middle of the elementary school, at the middle of the Marshall Simons School, is right on Wynn Street. The Department of Ed had indicated in their tours that this is the more prominent location for a proper entrance to the building. There was also concern about bus traffic and turnarounds here. There's no visiting space for parents to come and park if entering into the building to visit with the principal. The addition will take place right here at the central location. We've already performed soil sampling of this location, terrific bearing soil for an addition, which would be 2-story in nature. And we replaced these windows a couple of years ago. These will not be disturbed. They still are, will remain in place. The only areas which will be disturbed are the brick that you see at the middle of the building. That houses a couple of bathroom locations, which are also not handicapped accessible, in dire need of renovation. That will be the connecting point for this two-story addition. The addition then will house the administrative offices, which are undersized by current ed standards, the nurse's office, the guidance, health. All of these people will be consolidated to one main floor. It's also important in this day and age, because of the security issues that we're faced with, that one major addition, prominently located, is the secure point for accessing the building during the day. So the exterior of the building is secure, people are not wandering up to inappropriate locations, and their traffic is seen coming and going from the building. The second floor of this addition will house the new library space, which I'm sure we'll get to when we go inside. But the library space within this building is grossly undersized, only a couple of thousand square feet. And the Department of Education has already assessed that a building of this size, housing middle school children, should be over 5,000 square feet of library and media space to properly run the educational program.
Thank you. And before we go inside to look at some of the areas that Kevin just mentioned, I just want to point out to you, to my left here is the auditorium. And if you recall, several years ago, we put in new auditorium seats. Craig worked very hard to have the foyer of the building remodeled. So as people come into the auditorium area, it looks very nice. To my right is the cafeteria. So if there's an assembly in the auditorium and the children are at lunchtime and they have to go from the auditorium to the cafeteria, they have to go out of the auditorium all the way down through the building and all the way, take a left and go into the cafeteria. What we propose in this new addition is a connecting corridor that would go from the cafeteria over to the auditorium, so traffic flow would greatly improve by having the children being able to go from point A to point B without going through the entire facility to get from one point to the other. So again, let's go inside and take a look at some of the areas that we'd like you to see, so you can make an informed decision about what to do on November 22nd. Okay, now we're inside the lobby area of the Marshall Simons Middle School. And as I mentioned to you a moment ago, this was renovated a couple of years ago by Craig and his crew. They did a wonderful job. They put in the new floor tiles and new panels on the wall, and the town meeting was very generous, and they allowed us to put in a new auditorium seating. But really, those are about the only things we did in this building, other than putting in an elevator back about 12 years ago to accommodate a handicapped student that we had. But again, I just want to point out to you that we do have new windows, and we do have new doors, and that was all part of the window project. So, and as Kevin Buckley told you a moment ago, those will not be interfered with when and if this building project moves forward. So why don't we take a walk now? Let's go into the administrative area and see where the principal works and the secretarial staff, and I'll give you an indication of where this is in relationship to the front of the building that we just talked about outside. Let's go into the principal's office area. Take a walk inside the office, and I'll let you know that as we walk in, to my left is the road. That's not Wynn Street. This is Peach Orchard Road out here. And so the office area is on the side of the building. And let's take a walk inside. And you can see, again, this building is 42 years of age. The cabinets, the countertops, the paneling are all original to the school. Nothing's been modernized. The only thing, again, that has been done is the window system. If you want to take a walk with me over here, this is an office area for one of the team leaders. As you know, the middle school operates on a team model, and one of the team leaders has an office in here. And this is where parents would come when they have an issue with one of the middle school students and they need to see a team leader, talk about curriculum issues, homework, study skills, to talk even about a discipline problem. And another thing I'd like to point out to you is, if you can take a look at where I'm standing, the floor tiles are 42 years of age. You can see they're so old that the color has actually been worn out by the traffic that has come in and out of this office over the past 40 years. So these are the types of things that we would renovate in our renovation project by putting the principal's office out in front of the building that Kevin Buckley talked about, not only for security, but for a modern facility where parents could work hand in hand with the administrators for the benefit of their children. Let's take a walk down to the guidance office right now. And what I'd like to do is show you the guidance area, and from there we'll go to the nurse's office. So let's take a walk down there. I'm in the guidance area now of the Marshall-Simons Middle School, and what I'd like to point out to you are a couple of things. That when parents of middle school children need to come and see a guidance counselor around any issue at all, these are the quarters that they have to come into. It's very crowded. This is the secretary's desk right here. And let me show you an example of a guidance counselor's office area. Here's Mrs. Cotter's office. And let's take a walk inside and give you an idea of the privacy issue that we deal with when Mrs. Cotter is dealing with parents. Her desk is here. She has room for 2 people to sit down and talk about issues involving their children. Let's take a walk next door and give you another indication of the crowded space that we are dealing with the guidance counselors. So as we walk in here, Mrs. Dubois, her space is even smaller than Trish Cotter's. And this is what we're dealing with. Lack of storage space, inadequate facilities, the lighting that is very poor. If you can pan down to the floor and just let the people see, again, the same issue. We're dealing with floor tiles that are worn out because of wear over the last 42 years. And one thing I want to point out to you is that these are asbestos-containing floor tiles. And during construction and renovation, these floor tiles will be completely removed, and we'll put in vinyl floor tiles, so the asbestos issue will not be an issue with the floors. Now, why don't we take a walk up to the library media area, and that'll be the next area that we'll visit. Okay, we're at the Library Media Center at the Marshall-Simons Middle School. And just to acclimate people who are not familiar with the school, we're on the 2nd floor, and the 2nd floor is looking out on Wynn Street. But in order for you to get a full understanding of what we're dealing with at the library, you heard Kevin Buckley talk to you about the needs of having adequate library space for middle school students. This room is a 2,000 square foot library, and it really should be 5,000 square feet to bring us up to the current library standard. So let's take a walk inside, and you can see for yourself. If the camera could pan across and give the people an indication of the lack of space. Now, we're talking about 860 students who have access to this library. And I think you can see as you look through your screens that the seating capacity of this library is probably about 35 students at one time. The equipment that you see on top of the bookshelves are the only storage we really have in this facility for library/media equipment. It's very crowded. We happen to be in this room on a day where it's about 4:30 in the afternoon, so it's rather getting dark. The lighting in this room is inadequate by today's standards. The foot candle power is way below what you would want in your own home if you were trying to read something. So this is what we undergo every day when we have a cloudy, gray day. The kids are exposed to the same type of inadequate lighting. What I'd like to do next is take a walk down to the cafeteria, and you'll see where we provide food service every day to the 860 students. So let's take a walk downstairs. Okay, we're standing in the cafeteria, one side of the cafeteria anyway, at the Marshall-Simons Middle School. And again, what I'd like to point out to you is that the things you're going to see as I walk into the kitchen cooking area is the kitchen that was built 42 years ago. So why don't we take a walk inside and see what's being done in terms of food preparation every day and the adverse conditions that our cafeteria workers work under. So let's take a walk inside. I'm standing right inside the kitchen cooking area at the Marshall Simons Middle School, and we were just outside in the corridor a moment ago. As you can see, when the camera panned over some of the serving lines, they're stainless steel, they're 42 years old, but a lot of the warming trays don't work. And one of the things that I want to point out to you is that I'm standing next to the walk-in freezer. The walk-in freezer is totally inoperable. So what we have to do in order to keep our food fresh and under proper refrigeration is we had to buy portable refrigerators that really are inadequate for a school this size. So this freezer, walk-in freezer, would be replaced. This entire kitchen would be remodeled and relocated. And when I talk about relocating it, the kitchen is in the middle of the cafeteria. Our plan would be to put it up against one of the walls, on the exterior walls, so that the serving lines and all the equipment would be much more efficient, and it would really benefit both the staff and the students who have lunch on a daily basis. Let's take a walk to the other side of the cafeteria and show you what the seating capacity is on the larger side of the cafeteria. All right, now we're in the other part of the dining area of the cafeteria at the middle school. And if you recall, I said that the population of this building is 860. So at any given time, we have 3 lunches here on a day-to-day basis. This side of the cafeteria would have approximately 150 students having lunch. And you can see the chairs are up on top of the table so the custodians could do the cleaning. But I hope it gives you an idea of how crowded and outdated this cafeteria is for this size school. To my left is another serving line area, and I just want to kind of poke my head in the door because it gives you an idea of the inadequate facilities that we have for our kids every day when they come to lunch. So you have to walk down here to that juice machine and out the other door. Our plan, as I mentioned to you a moment ago, was to take this area of the cafeteria that is now the cooking area and relocate it to an exterior wall, and we can use this space for additional seating. And we'll put new lights, new floors, new equipment, and the school will become a much more efficient cafeteria serving area for all the kids. Okay, we're now looking at room C4 at the Marshall Simons Middle School, and this is a developmental reading class. And as you could see when the camera went over the size of the room, it's rather small. The desks are crowded, one on top of the other. And this is another area that I think needs critical attention, is the area for the special needs students or any child who needs any type of special service. We have inadequate facilities for them. And one of the historical things about special ed rooms is they always get pushed aside when other classroom space is needed, and we really can't do that. We're violating the education laws, and we need to provide adequate space for our special needs population. Here's an example of that special needs population that does not have adequate facilities. So at this point, I'd like to now take you into the boiler room, and we'd like to show you what the heating plant is in this building.
We're down in the boiler room at Marshall Simons School right now, and what you have right here is the original boilers that are put in when the school was built. What you see behind me is we've converted from oil to gas, so we have a newer gas burner, but the plan is for us to renovate the entire boiler room and put new boilers in. And what I'd like to do now is turn this over to Kevin Buckley to tell you what kind of system we have in place now and the kind of system that we've designed for the additions and renovations should we be successful on November 22. So, Kev?
Thank you. These boilers that you see here are over 40 years old. They have passed their life expectancy. The idea is that this is one part of the infrastructure that needs to be replaced. All of the other components of the infrastructure, the electrical system, the plumbing systems, they're over 40 years old. So your pipings are failing. The pipe has tuberculation throughout, which is rusting. It's limiting the flow of both the heating systems, the piping systems. These boilers will be replaced again with a complete new hot water circulating system. All the pipes that have steam traps in them, which fail constantly, which are clogging, which are not properly circulating to the unit ventilators, will be replaced. And each of the unit ventilators in every classroom will now provide the proper heating and cooling to those classrooms throughout the entire building. I think what we'd like to do from leaving this space is if we could go up to the health area and look at one of the spaces that is currently occupied by current teachers up there in that location.
I'm standing out in the corridor now, right outside the cafeteria, which is right behind me. And what I want to point out to the people who are watching is if you have a middle school student who goes to this school, grades 6, 7, or 8, or if you have somebody coming up, the lockers that we're looking at here are high school lockers. This used to be Burlington High School back in the 60s. In fact, I student taught here in 1968. These are the same lockers that were built in the building, and parents of middle school kids, I know that when you send your children to school, they carry backpacks or they carry those little rolling suitcases. And you can see by the size of this locker here that there's no way the kids are going to get a backpack or a rolling suitcase in here. So the lockers are part of the plan also for renovation of this building, where we'll take the 1960s lockers and replace them with something more appropriate for middle school. I'd like to take you inside this classroom now and give you an idea, actually it's an office, not a classroom, give you an idea of what some of our staff members are dealing with on a day-to-day basis. Let's take a walk inside here and take a look. This room, which is used by our computer resource teacher, and is also used, if you can see it on the other side, there are 2 desks. Our health education teachers work out of this space. Now, if you take a look around very carefully, you can see that it really doesn't look like a room because it used to be a storage closet. And we've had to capture this space for, again, the computer resource teacher and the health education teachers. And our plan, again, is if this building is renovated, in the new addition, we will put rooms for not only the world language teachers, the 2 health teachers who are scheduled in this room here, and we'll also take care of music education. So if we do that, the 12-room addition that is planned for this school would be the new office for the principal, guidance area, nurse, the health education teachers, 2 of those, the 4 world language teachers, and the music teachers. So that would leave us 4 rooms for expansion in the event that enrollments go up with the new apartment complexes. But I wanted to show this to you because it kind of gives you a glimpse of the working conditions that many of our staff members are working under, because they're in a building that was built over 40 years ago and has never been renovated. So why don't we do this? Let's take a walk to the front of the building, and we'll kind of wrap things up, and let's head down there. Okay, we're at the end of our tour of the middle school, and I hope that those people who had an opportunity to watch this program saw firsthand the things that Craig and I have been talking about, the school committee members, the building oversight committee. We've been talking about this issue for 3 years now, and as you can see, we really need to take a look at our facilities. These are the 2 oldest buildings in the town of Burlington as far as the schools go. We really need to do something for our students and our staff. There's really one reason why people won't vote for this, in my opinion, and I think that's going to be you don't want your taxes to go up. If you talk to Brian Curtin, our town treasurer, he'll tell you that the average tax bill will rise about $119 per year. On a daily basis, that's 32 cents a day. On a quarterly basis, it's about $30 to the average taxpayer on their quarterly tax bill. So there's one reason why people won't vote, and I think you need to know there are 1,100 reasons why you should vote. There are 860 students in this building and over 250 across the street. And those are the 1,100 kids that I represent. I have to advocate for them. They can't vote, but on November 22nd, you can. And it would be wonderful if people come out and say yes to this debt service override and give us the opportunity to renovate 2 of the oldest schools and properly maintained. And with a person like Craig Robinson, I can assure you that'll be done. Properly maintained, they will last another 20 to 25 years before anything needs to be done to them. So if we can take a look at one of our little signs here on the board, write more, learn more, in proper modern facilities, I think that we'll have nothing but good things coming out of this school and Memorial School for many years to come. I thank you for watching. If you have any questions about anything you saw or anything you didn't see, all you have to do is call my office, 781-270-1801, or call Craig, 781-270-1814, and we'll be happy to talk to any of you prior to the November 22nd election. So thank you very much.